Tim Roth. He's one of the film world's great chameleons. He's most at home in independent or art house cinema, but he also has the odd crack at mainstream blockbusters. He plays a mean villain, has a knack for comedy, and can nail an accent, which is a skill he learned when he was a young boy at school. He used to get picked on for his posh English accent. Well, he soon developed a Cockney accent and fit right in. Know what I mean? Tim thought he wanted to be a sculptor, but at 16 he auditioned for a play as a joke. It backfired when he got the part, and by 18 he'd got his first big break, playing an angry racist skinhead in the English telemovie Made in Britain. In 1990 he put in an amazing performance in Tom Stoppard's quirky comedy Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, a flick which received a cult following. Then he made the move to LA, where he caught the attention of Quentin Tarantino. Tarantino cast him as Mr. Orange in Reservoir Dogs. And who can forget that graphic and gruesome scene where Mr. Orange lies dying covered in blood in the warehouse? Incredible stuff. Then he cast him again in the cult hit Pulp Fiction. It's one of those classic Tarantino Mexican standoff scenes where he and his honey bunny hold up a diner where John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson's characters are eating. Great scene. Then, 6 years later, he worked with Travolta again in a film called Lucky Numbers.
I thought this would be fun to do because it's a comedy, and I've been involved recently in some very kind of emotionally heavy films, so this would be almost like a vacation, in a sense. And also working with John again. Since I haven't worked with him since Pulp Fiction, I thought it would be great to do that again. And the character is he's a very funny character, you know.
Tim felt he had a bit to learn about comedy, but lucky for him, he was working with two seasoned professionals, Travolta and Friends star Lisa Kudrow.
It's been really good. I mean, you know, because with John, it was like going back to the Pulp Fiction days, so that was nice. We could reminisce about that. And Lisa, you know, I've seen her on the TV, and so it was a pleasure. Very funny. They're very funny people. I'm interested in people who do comedy. I've not really done much, and these people know what they're doing. So you can learn from them.
His third collaboration with Tarantino came in 1995, a surprisingly slapstick performance in 4 Rooms. Then, in 1996, he was nominated for a Best Supporting Actor Oscar for the period drama Rob Roy. By the Academy Awards luncheon, he already had a plan of attack for the ceremony.
I'll be getting drunk. I'll be getting drunk. That's the way I'll deal with it. That's the theme.
Tim is an actor very unaffected by the hype of Hollywood, but it's hard not to get swept up by Oscars excitement.
It's extraordinarily flattering. And it's so, because coming from England, I suppose it's so far removed from what we know. You know, it's something that was always on television and the Hollywood thing and the stars and all that, and then find yourself in the middle of it all. It's quite, it's great. It's a good feeling. It's just, you kind of want it to be over, you know, in a sense. It's like Christmas is coming and then you want it to just be over until next year.
An Oscar nomination is a huge achievement and it can open plenty of doors. But sometimes actors talk about the opposite happening. They say that directors can feel like actors are going to be so swamped with offers that no one actually makes an offer. So, particularly for someone like Tim Roth who does so much independent cinema, how does he think the Oscar nomination is going to affect him?
I don't know. I really don't. Because the stuff that I do is generally in the independent world, so I don't know how it would affect that.
Tim plays an excellent bad guy. And you know you're getting it right when you're the one tipped to replace Sir Anthony Hopkins. When it looked like Sir Anthony wasn't going to reprise the role of Hannibal Lecter, Tim was the one they were looking to. Well, he may have missed out on that scary role, but he did score a role in the thriller Funny Games US opposite Naomi Watts, in what was a very different role for him.
Love him. It was difficult for him because he's the father of 2, and he, you know, is playing a character that's weak ultimately, and he's so used to playing the angry kind of alpha male, and in this case he's so powerless. But anyway, I loved working with him because he kept it light. He's got a great sense of humour, and you know, it was good to go to a pretty crass base level humour as a form of escape when you're in between takes.
The upside of an Oscar nomination is that it cements your bankability in the eyes of the studios. In 2008, Tim starred in the mainstream blockbuster The Incredible Hulk. So, was he always a fan?
Yeah, the comic books I had when I was a kid, I used to get every week. And then in fact, I spoke to Stan Lee. When I was a little kid, I called up, he was on a radio talk show in London, and I called up and I got in and I said, what's your inspiration for the characters? And I was so nervous I hung up. So I never got to really talk to him. But I was very impressed with Stan Lee, and we all were when we were kids. And the Hulk was a favourite of mine, so it's good to be in this.
Up for a bit of fun and willing to try something new, Tim grabbed the opportunity to pull up his sleeves, flex his muscles, and get involved with a few stunts.
They couldn't afford a stuntman, so they made me do all this stuff. They threw me around like a rag doll. No, I did some of it, but you can't. I mean, I'm not one of those actors that thinks it's not an ego issue with me. I get out of the way when it's dangerous, and some of this stuff was very dangerous. But they made me do some, and it was fun. I mean, you know, it's fun leaping around on wires. I enjoyed it. Stunt guys were extraordinary, you know. They came up with all kinds of weird ideas. There was one where I jump and I get knocked sideways, and I wish I could have done that, but I never got to do that. I did it over in the park. But no, the setup was, you know, if you've got a stunt guy, then you, as the actor, direct the stunt guy, and the director directs you. And that way, it actually has some kind of character to it, as opposed to just being a stunt. And the guys that we had were really good at that. They were really, really good at that. So I could slot in where I needed to, and where I physically could do it. And they would take over when I couldn't.
Not one to take himself too seriously, Tim was blown away by the hype and hoopla that went along with this film. Even so, he was happy to help out devoted fans in whatever way he could.
Yeah, you graduate from trying to be a sort of serious actor to signing sneakers. It's brilliant. I loved it. And because I've never taken acting that seriously. So I think it's good. It's a good leveler when he's signing someone's sneakers.
After all his years of experience and an Oscar nomination to boot, Tim Roth defines acting as nothing too artsy-fartsy. He says it's simply deception, smoke, and mirrors. In fact, he says he's never needed any of that method technique of acting. He doesn't need to go and eat horse meat and witchery grubs in some teepee in a far-off corner of the earth. That's not a direct quote, that's just the gist of what he was saying. He says he's always been able to get everything he's ever needed for a character from the script. And I think the results speak for themselves. Stay tuned to Star Picks for all the movies you know and the actors you love. Broadcast in glorious high definition with 5.1 surround sound where available. For more of the best in entertainment news, check out your movie network channels. It's altogether better, on screen and at mnc.tv.